like my jokes, don't laugh. If you have a medical opinion, please speak up and speak up loud. But if you ever again tell me or my surgical staff that we're going to lose a patient, I'm going to take out your lungs with an ice cream scoop. Do you understand me?
That's Alec Baldwin, is a brilliant young surgeon who arrives in town in a climate of violence and mystery in Malice, one of the 5 new movies we're reviewing this week on Siskel and Ebert. We'll also look at Robert Altman's new film, Shortcuts, and Jeremy Irons in M. Butterfly, the story of a man who loves well, but not too wisely. I'm Roger Ebert of the Chicago Sun-Times.
And I'm Gene Siskel of the Chicago Tribune. Our first film is called Malice, and to watch it is very frustrating. It's one of those thrillers where nothing is ever quite what it seems, so you have no chance of guessing what's going on, and the film is so violent that you don't really care. I just wanted it to pick an ending, any ending, and be done with it. Nicole Kidman and Bill Pullman play newlyweds, but their marriage is strained after he invites an old high school acquaintance to move into their upstairs apartment. The friend is an egotistical surgeon who needs a place to stay.
Jed's a friend.
He's not a friend. He didn't even remember your name, Alan.
The doctor is played by Alec Baldwin. Don't you think he could afford to stay in a hotel? Anyway, he moves in and then pops into Kidman's bathroom, surprising her as she has abdominal cramps.
I'm sorry about that.
What the hell are you doing in here?
Are you all right?
No, I'm not all right.
Anybody home?
Up here, honey.
Later on, in law offices, and remember, nothing is what it seems in this picture, Dr. Baldwin is forced to defend himself against Nicole Kidman in a lawsuit, and he does so directly to her attorney, played by Peter Gallagher.
You go ahead and read your Bible, Dennis. And you go to your church, and with any luck, you might win the annual raffle. But if you're looking for God, he was in operating room number 2 on November 17th, and he doesn't like to be second-guessed. You ask me if I have a God complex? Let me tell you something. I am God.
Now, I can't give away too much about this story, but I found Malice wholly incredible in its setup, and when the twists in the story started to come fast and furious, I felt as if I were being toyed with, that the story could go any which way without any logic. It didn't make any difference. Malice does get very violent, too, and that depressed me. I like Nicole Kidman's performance in this film, but that's it.
Boy, I'm in complete agreement with you on this one. You know, when the film was over, my wife and I spent at least half an hour just trying to figure out apparent inconsistencies in the story, because there are things that seem to make sense at the time, and then when you find out things later, you say, well, then why did this happen, or how could it have happened, or... you know, the movie is really frustrating because it doesn't have that neat kind of little package at the end where you say, oh, now I understand everything and I know how it all worked out.
Or you could
I really think there are loose threads in this movie.
Well, also that you could have, in that case, if it were more logical, I mean, why does he have to take the room upstairs?
Yeah.
You know, he's so good. I mean, why play it that obvious? Why not make it more complicated? If he's in another house, it's just you have the same story.
And why would he want to move into that house, and why would she want him to move into the house?
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't make any sense right at the top.
And also, of course, there's a whole subplot about a serial killer that's just thrown in as a bonus. It has nothing to do with anything.
A very violent bonus, actually.
Yeah, but it's just like, let's just add a little serial killer action for fun here. Okay. Next movie and our next film is Cool Runnings, based on the true story of a Jamaican bobsled team which amazed everyone by actually competing in the Olympics, even though there is, of course, no snow in Jamaica, and they had to practice on a bobsled with wheels. The original idea to enter a bobsled team occurs when some of the island's best runners are disqualified after an accident in a qualifying round.
The key elements for a successful sled team are a steady driver and 3 strong runners to push off down the ice. Ice!
They have their doubts about the idea, but meet with John Candy, who is a disgraced former bobsled champion himself.
You zigging, you zagging. Always remember, your bones will not break in a bobsled. No, they shatter.
To their amazement and to the amazement of the entire world, the team actually arrives at the Winter Olympics ready to compete. It's a dream come true, even if the other teams hardly take them seriously.
Now listen up, fellas. I don't want you to worry about looking good out there.
Ah, Blitzy. You're going to tux I'm into?
Hey, seeming to you like nobody likes us.
We're different. People are always afraid of what's different.
Cool Runnings tells a funny and inspirational story, and the cast works up a lot of charm, but basically the movie is a failed opportunity. The whole Olympics movement has been corrupted by so much hype, so much emphasis on winning at any cost, on superhuman perfectionism, that this cheerful band of Jamaican dreamers could have been used to bring some sanity back to the subject, but instead their experience has been sanitized and standardized into an absolutely routine series of sports movies cliches. There's hardly a scene you can't predict, and the brave originality of the team of outsiders is completely lost in the formula. Too bad.
Absolutely. When you say sanitized, that's exactly what has happened. The true story is that I guess a couple of American entrepreneurs in Jamaica came up with the idea of the bobsled team. There was no John Candy as the coach, you know, who's coming out of retirement. John Candy as a bobsledder, you know, is a little bit...
well, 20 years ago, who knows?
Yeah, huh? I know. They have a photograph there. Yeah. And then the invention of the East German team as the bad guys, actually, I'm told that this is the 1988 Calgary Olympics, that the teams were all amused, frankly, by these people there. Why do you have to turn it into such obvious sort of grammar school humor with a story that could have been very funky in other hands? Yeah,
and it's just your basic underdog fish out of water story, when in fact, if they had had a couple of sharp entrepreneurs saying, hey, why don't we launch a bobsled, we can make a lot of money off the T-shirts.
Exactly right.
And
why do you need
souvenir sales?
And why do you need the glowering East German team? I mean, it's just a low-rent approach to what could have been fun.
You're right. Coming up next, hot after the success of The Player, Robert Altman takes a different look at Los Angeles. An all-star cast in Shortcuts when we come back.
To hell with love. To hell with love.
Tune them out.
Tuna melt, it's breakfast. Have a steak and some eggs.
Not if I have to pay for it, baby.
You're not drinking, are you?
Lily Tomlin and Tom Waits are lovers having problems, one of many frustrated couples we meet in Robert Altman's Shortcuts, a marvelous adult soap opera of sorts from the director of last year's inside look at the high-powered people who make the movies in Los Angeles. The Player, this time in Shortcuts, using the stories of hard-boiled writer Raymond Carver, Altman shows us another side of Los Angeles, exposing the strained lives of the middle-class people who go to the movies, such as this embittered couple played by Matthew Modine and Julianne Moore. Here preparing to host a barbecue, they talk about their guests, but they're really rubbing old wounds raw.
Do you think he's attractive?
Who?
The husband.
Stewart it is.
He's the kind of guy women find attractive, isn't he? The outdoorsman type.
Another out-of-kilter couple, Andy McDowell and Bruce Davison, have to deal with an irate phone caller, a baker played by Lyle Lovett. He's upset they never picked up their son's birthday cake.
Lady, I work 16 hours a day to make ends meet. Yeah. I bake all night and work all day.
You bake all night? I thought you made phone calls at night, you bastard.
There's more stressful relationships as Peter Gallagher tries to get back at his estranged wife, Frances McDormand.
Oh, she's not dressed right now.
Give it to me.
Honey, put your panties on. Whoa.
With it. Give it to me. Give it to me.
Have a nice weekend.
Get out of here.
Not all of Shortcuts is bitter. We actually get to see a police officer, Tim Robbins, try to pick up a pretty clown, Ann Archer.
Can I go now?
No, ma'am. One more question.
What's that?
How many clowns can you fit in this car?
I beg your pardon?
How many clowns can you fit in this car, ma'am?
Why'd you take my phone number?
Well, you never know when you might need the services of a clown, ma'am.
That scene sort of hangs there, and it does show some of the loopiness of Shortcuts, short, weird moments in dozens of middle-class characters' lives. Empty lives, you might think at first glance, but as this film progresses, I found a certain nobility in these people slugging through existence. Shortcuts intercuts among these many characters like an extended 3-hour soap opera, but it's worth sticking through it all because the writing is sharp, and the stranger the situations we see, the more real they seem. It's a terrific film with Altman having fully regained now his early career form.
I love this movie too, Gene, and although I think it actually is more of an Altman film than a Raymond Carver film, because the poignancy and the sadness of some of the Carver stories is kind of joined here with Altman's love of these weird characters and their strange ways of earning a living, especially the Jennifer Jason Leigh character, who carries on phone sex conversations while trying to keep her husband in line and raise a family, change diapers, and meanwhile having these fantasies on the telephone. That kind of doublethink. It goes all the way through the movie, people who are operating on more than one level at once.
I felt the poignancy that you're talking about, though. At first, I was thinking, oh, this is, you know, he's skewering Los Angeles again, just like in The Player. But I felt that there was an empathy for these characters, that they are out there at the forefront. They're away from their extended family. These are people, these are loose ends of people, a couple alone in a room with lousy furniture basically all their lives. And at some point I did feel for the battle that they're trying to go through.
It's a real good film. When we come back, in Butterfly, the story of a Frenchman in China who falls in love without asking very many questions.
I've always seen opera singers as overweight ladies in too much bad makeup.
Bad makeup is not unique to the West.
I've never seen a performance as convincing as yours.
Jeremy Irons is a French diplomat, and John Lone is a star of the Peking Opera in a scene from the movie version of the long-running stage hit M. Butterfly. And right away, you know the secret of this movie, which, unlike a similar situation in a certain 1992 movie, is supposed to be known to the audience, known to everybody, that is, except for the movie's hero, who thinks he is in love with a woman when in fact he has been deceived by a man, an opera star who is a spy for the Chinese government.
Be a gentleman, will you, and light my cigarette?
The Chinese seducer there, named Sung, didn't necessarily set out to pretend to be a woman. After all, everyone was supposed to know that the female roles in Peking opera are played by men. But since the Frenchman apparently didn't know, Sung sees no need to enlighten him. M. Butterfly is based on an actual case, and the question that all of France wanted answered was, how did this deception last so long? Why didn't René Gallimard ever learn his lover's secret?
I want honesty, no falseness between us.
The Chinese intelligence services are efficient, so efficient that after Sung convinces Gallimard he is about to become a father, an actual Eurasian baby is produced as proof.
I want you to marry me, Butterfly. I want us to live together. I'll take you to Paris.
I can't marry you, René.
Now, in my opinion, John Lone does not make a terrifically convincing woman in M. Butterfly, but then again, maybe he isn't supposed to. The whole idea of the movie is that everybody knows the secret except the poor, deceived Frenchman. And for that matter, maybe he knows too, but he simply doesn't want to admit it to himself. No matter how you read the story, the movie itself is a disappointment. Film is more literal than the stage, and what worked as a theatrical mystery never seems plausible on the screen.
Well, there isn't a sense of discovery, Roger.
No.
That's true. And then John Lone doesn't work as a woman. It's quite obvious early on. And I think that had to be done better, frankly, for it to work. At the same time, you called Jeremy Irons once, I think, the poet of frustrated sexuality. And he does have that quality. I mean, he does. It's a sad story because I just focused in on him. I have mixed feelings about the film, too. I expected because of I'd never seen the Broadway play. Had you seen it?
Yeah, I've seen it twice. I saw it once in London with Anthony Hopkins.
All right. Maybe because I hadn't seen it, and I guess most people will be in that position when they go to the film, I was expecting something really big and great, and it wasn't there.
It's a disappointment. There are a couple of scenes in the movie that really had me questioning things. For example, would they put the two prisoners together in a police car so that they could have that private conversation? Would all of the prisoners in the prison watch so attentively and so appreciatively in that performance that kind of ends the movie? I don't think so, and I think that the whole mystery of this story is kind of lost, except, as you're quite right to say, Jeremy Irons captures the poignancy of this man who is either deceived or self-deceived.
That's the way to look at this film. I think if people do go to see it with maybe lowered expectations and focus in on him and him alone, I think that there is something of substance.
Okay, coming up next, Michael J. Fox's latest comedy. He plays a New York hotel concierge, better at helping others than helping himself. For Love or Money is next.
So, you guys planning on seeing any shows while you're in town? All right, okay.
For Love or Money with Michael J. Fox starts out great and then gets all soft, letting a solid comic situation get ground down by a conventional happy ending. Fox plays a razor-sharp Manhattan hotel concierge who is at his best solving every guest's problem, sometimes even before they ask him, as when he spots a husband in the doghouse with his wife.
Now, I can only get fourth-row orchestra. I'm sorry, Miss Saigon is very tough to get at the last second. Also, I made reservations for a late dinner at the Rainbow Room. My friend Gigi the maitre d' is expecting you. And as per instructions, the hotel limo will pick you up at the theater.
Why, Sparky, you really had me going.
So far, so good, and we enjoyed the behind-the-scenes material, like this quick bit with other concierges trading hot Broadway tickets. I wanted more of this, a lot more.
What about my night games? We're getting to night games. Okay, Charlotte. Dougie needs 6 Grand Hotels for Saturday. Charlotte needs 2 cats and a Phantom. 6 times 50 is 3, minus 2 times 60, minus 40, plus Secret Gardens, and Charlotte's a happy camper. Okay.
Now for the boring stuff. Fox's big personal problem is the woman he's in love with, Gabrielle Anwar. Al Pacino taught her the tango in Son of a Woman. She's seeing another man, a rich married man, who has employed Fox to do his bidding, like telling her he'll be late for a date.
And he sent you scurrying over to tell me?
Well, I didn't scurry. I don't scurry. I take the subway like any other animal.
Unlucky in love, Fox dreams of developing his own hotel, but he needs big dough. And the guy with it? Right, her boyfriend. That makes showing her a mock-up of his dream more poignant.
Wow.
See it?
Yes.
The big problem with For Love or Money is that not for a second do we believe that Gabrielle Anwar would fall for this rich guy. He's such a jerk, and in general, her character is written as a true featherbrain. Why couldn't the other two characters be as sharp as Michael J. Fox in this picture? That and more behind-the-scenes hotel stuff would have made me really like For Love or Money, as it now plays a mixed review from me. A wonderful start, regretfully, though, thumbs down.
With me, it isn't even a close call. It's definitely thumbs down, and I agree with you. It would have been a lot more fun if they had really gotten behind the scenes instead of just using cliches like the evil manager of the hotel and the fumbling little old bellman. You know, those are out of 1,000 other movies. It's too bad.
Everybody has stayed in a hotel, you know, who's going to come to see this picture. Most of them will have had concierges, and you wonder about this person who just pries into everybody's life and is the mastermind of the city. It's a great situation.
A real imagination, which is the last thing that Hollywood wants to get anywhere near, would have said, throw out this hackneyed love story that we've seen 1,000 times before. Let's have a funny comedy about this guy who works for the hotel. But, you know, God forbid that they would ever make a movie that they hadn't already made. I mean, Hollywood is the only industry where they really believe that practice makes perfect. When we come back, our Laserdisc pick of the month, a restored version of a rare Abbott and Costello children's movie.
The Siskel and Ebert Laserdisc pick of the month is brought to you by Pioneer Home Theater. You don't just watch it.
Now it's time for our Laserdisc pick of the month, and I had a lot of fun watching Jack and the Beanstalk, the 1952 Abbott and Costello comedy that was the first of only 2 movies that the boys ever made in color. Unfortunately, the original color negative was lost, and this Laserdisc is a restoration of a movie that many people have seen only in black and white on television. The movie follows Abbott and Costello as they climb a giant beanstalk and enter the kingdom of the giant, who is played here by the gigantic heavyweight Buddy Bear.
Be he alive or be he dead, I'll grind his bones to make my bread.
Mister, if I'm too heavy for you, I just leave walk.
Me too.
Jack and the Beanstalk is an entertaining movie, but it's not a great one. It's kind of a low-rent homage to The Wizard of Oz, with a black and white opening sequence that really isn't necessary at all, and a large number of musical numbers with long and forgettable songs. But the actual comedy is endearing, and Lou Costello in particular is very entertaining, reminding me that in all of these comedy teams, it's always the tall guy who's the straight man and the chubby guy who has all the best lines. Now let's take another look at the movies we reviewed this week. 2 thumbs down for Malice, the thriller with Alec Baldwin and Nicole Kidman. The actors had to fight their way through too much plot and way too much implausibility. 2 more thumbs down for Cool Runnings about the Jamaican bobsled team. It has some good moments, but way too many sports cliches. 2 very big thumbs up, though, for Robert Altman's adventurous and ambitious Shortcuts, with its menagerie of Los Angelinos making their way through life with difficulty, wit, and a great deal of imagination. 2 thumbs down for the disappointing M. Butterfly, a film version of the big Broadway hit. It may work as stagecraft, but on the big screen it's more unconvincing than unconventional. And finally, 2 more thumbs down for Michael J. Fox in For Love or Money, a no-brainer in which every move seemed choreographed years in advance. So this week, it's Robert Altman's Shortcuts as our choice.
And I like the Abbott and Costello movie. I saw it as a 6-year-old, and it actually, at that age, it scared me. When they go up that beanstalk, it was very frightening for me. Anyway, that's it for this week. Next week, we'll be back with reviews of more new movies, including Mr. Jones with psychiatrist Lena Olin falling for her #1 patient, Richard Gere, and the Civil War drama Gettysburg, starring Tom Berenger, Martin Sheen, and Jeff Daniels. That's next week. And until then, the balcony is closed.
Easy Spirit. Looks like a pump, feels like a sneaker. Dress shoes with all the cushioning and support of athletic shoes. Now in new colors for fall. Vicks Vapor Inhaler for fast, effective relief of nasal congestion. Easy to carry and easy to use anytime, anywhere. Take a breather with the Vicks Vapor Inhaler. St. Ives Swiss Formula Collagen Elastin Lotion. Made to work in the harsh Swiss Alps, St. Ives Swiss Formula relieves dry skin instantly, naturally. Fashion Bug for the latest in junior, Mrs., plus, even girls and men's fashions. 1,200 stores coast to coast. Fashion Bug fits your life.